have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Hoffman.
an inmate at Airway Heights Correction Center. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up. Thank you.
Hello again.
Hello,
Sorry
Mr.
to bug
Hoffman.
you.
Hello, Mr. Hoffman.
I got through talking with Agnes, and we've been mulling over this suicide watch thing. It doesn't seem clear to me how they expect to be 1 minute claiming that I'm threatening them, threatening their life, and then turn around and call in the institution and make out that they're some kind of friend of mine and I should be on suicide watch because I'm dangerous to myself now. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
This is the work of cyber criminals. And it's clear that they don't have any life of their own, or they wouldn't be so agitated about trying to make problems for me here. I've done 32 years in an environment where they couldn't live 5 minutes. And I have people around me that watch out for me, that have blessed me with kind regard, even though they've taken life or done other dastardly things to other people outside in the outside world. They trust me because I am the kind of person that I am. I'm trustworthy, I'm honest, and I show them complete respect, the same kind of respect I would expect for myself. Now, these people that are doing this are not worth 2 dead flies, and they know it. And they know that I have the capability to get myself free. With Agnes and your help, that is going to be a foregone conclusion, that I will be free. And they can't stand that.
Yeah, the fact that she would,
Go ahead.
the fact that she would joke around as if it's funny to call the prison to have you stripped of your clothes, moved from your cell, to sit naked, isolated in a suicide watch chamber, and she thinks that's cute and funny. When I say that she has a dark heart, I'm not embellishing and I'm not trying to exaggerate. They really do receive pleasure from hearing that you're suffering, and these people are really, really bad people. I don't know how to say it any stronger, and I could tell by the way they talk, and that you'll know a man or a woman by the fruits of their actions, and their actions have shown me that they really, really have some problems that need to be addressed in their heart.
Well, here's the thing now. They've gone so far as to admit to cybercrime, hate crime, and stuff against a Native American incarcerated. And be that as it may, and it might be just a funny thing for them right now, but somewhere down the road, there's going to be a judge that looks at this and says, why are these people doing this? And if they're doing this to him, they could be doing it to my family too. And that's what he's going to look at, and that's what he's not going to like. And that's what's going to take them down the road, because they think that they are able to put up a curtain that nobody can see who they are and what they're doing and stuff, and that's a farce. They're only fooling themselves, and that's the foolish part of it, that they are fools, and they can't learn anything else, and they don't have any drive to do anything else other than to go and do the 9-to-5 job, and after they're done with the day, turn around and flip off their employer and walk out and go to the bar and get drunk and talk about how they're doing things to Hoffman in prison. Wow, that's really something. I'm really impressed with that. That's the work of 2 dead flies.
Yeah. It's very cowardly. Anybody. It's not just one or two people, but it seems like there's a whole group of devils in the world. And I think since you've been in prison, the world has really degenerated in our moral fabric, Patrick, and the whole society. It's really sick, very sick. And anybody that would get pleasure and brag about calling the prison to harass you. I mean, you've already spent 32 years in prison, and it's just what kind of mind operates like that, you know?
Well, they've been caught because this information that we're sending to this hearing now will close them out.
I hope so.
It's going to arrive in such a way that the judge will have to look at it because it is not only in paper before him, but it's on the internet, and they have their names attached to it. That's just how it is. I didn't do it. I didn't start this. I started to try to get Josh on board with us so that he could lift up his father's memory in a good fashion by finding the true killer of his father. That would have made him be able to stand in any place, and people would gather around him because he did a hero's effort. But no, he's no hero. He's a scoundrel. These people are acting like scavengers. They want to, because I'm not dead yet, they want to act like there's some reason for them to hate me or to be afraid of me or to make out that I'm some kind of threat to them. And that's just who they are. It wouldn't matter if I were the dead fly. They would still try to make out that I was some kind of danger to them simply because I was a dead fly laying on the floor before them. That's terrible. That sort of that sort of thing. It doesn't make sense other than these are cyber criminals that think they've gotten away with a whole lot, and I'm quite sure that there's a young FBI agent out there somewhere that is listening to all of this and gathering information, and one day, very soon, there's going to be a big hammer fall on them, and they're going to have to do prison time. And what is Corey going to do about her children then when she goes to prison? Because they're going to be wards of the court, and they're going to be taught things that they thought were only taught to criminals. My, how the wheel turns, and how it gets real ugly when it turns out to be the wheel falling in your own backyard.
From my perspective, yep, I'm sorry.
I didn't do any of this. I don't want any of this to happen. They've brought it on themselves, and if it happens, there's nothing I can do about it because they've already made their bed so they can lie in it now.
And let me also say this, just from my perspective, you're absolutely right, and that we did try to, I thought when I had a conversation with her, which was a congenial conversation, that you would not mention them anymore, and they would not mention you, and you would continue to advocate for your innocence without mentioning them. But what happened is, like shortly after I get into this conversation with her, which I thought was a congenial conversation and a sincere conversation, you receive a lawsuit. And it's like, are you kidding me? You're going to get off the phone from me, and the next thing you're going to do is team up with a band of devils and file a lawsuit against Patrick Hoffman, and then for Josh Millard to say that he's going to call the prison and harass you and team up with a bunch of devils that does the same thing, and then for him to say he don't care if you shot the gun or not. I mean, he just wants you to die in prison whether you pulled the trigger or not. It doesn't even matter to him that the ballistic information doesn't line up. He just wants you to die in prison, and he's got you as the target of his hate.
Well, the truth of this life is this, that when you hate your enemy that much, you become your enemy, and what you want for your enemy becomes onto you. So they're pushing against the wall, and it's a tall wall, and the wall is going to fall on them. And when it does, nobody's going to look back, because there's so many of them that it doesn't matter who survives or who doesn't. They're in this way, and it's too far for them to backtrack, to get back out of the way. It just doesn't work that way.
Well,
they think that they're playing.
Yeah.
They think that they're playing with somebody that doesn't have any mentality, that doesn't have any understanding of what real life is about. I've trained horses. I've trained animals. I've worked with people on high notes and low notes and stuff, and I know the difference between a true human being and one that pretends to be. And these people are pretending to be human beings when in all actuality and truth they are nothing more than two-headed snakes. And when they say something to you, they turn around and try to strike at me. And that shows how weak they really are, how impotent they really are, because they have no understanding and they have no life of their own. If they really had a life of their own, they wouldn't bother with this, because nothing I have to say would have anything to do with them. But they don't have a life, and Corey, in this paperwork, this fabrication of a no contact order, it's senseless in the first place, because I've done 32 years behind bars, and I'm more than likely going to do my whole life sentence here. But the thing is, if I get out, what good is that? If I get out and I'm innocent, I have no recourse towards them anyway, because they didn't know or understand that I am innocent. So why would I have any animosity towards them in the first place? So it's ridiculous for her to go to a court and try to have a no contact order, and they're asking for a 10-mile limit, that I have no contact with them, simply to use this as a vehicle to cover up the fact that they've committed hate crimes against an individual in an institutional environment. And it's not only hate crimes, it's conspiracy to commit hate crimes, because there's more than one of them, and there are officers that they have contacted, and the contact has agreed to do what they wanted. So they're living on borrowed time now, and they're running, and that's just fine. I am doing better than they are. I am standing tall, and the officers around me come up to me and say, "Oh, how are you doing today, Mr. Hoffman? Is there anything we can do to help you out?" So I am doing a lot better than they will ever do, because when they get to prison, there won't be anybody to know them or to give them coffee or give them soap or anything like that. They'll have to go and shower by themselves in a cold shower, because nobody will turn the hot water on for them, because there are still lifers in prisons, and lifers still run the prisons.
Yeah, I certainly won't take their phone call. Even if Mr. Hoffman, they go to court, and I've lost complete faith in our criminal justice system, I pray that you do get a good judge, and I pray that he rules favorably in a just way. But we both know that there's a higher court, and that the God who created the universe, he looks beyond the appearances. He doesn't see like the female victim that Corey wants to paint herself. He looks into her heart. He looks into her heart. He looks into your heart. And he looks into my heart. And he knows what our motives are. And he knows, exactly what our heart is all about. And I'm just for the truth. I'm for justice. You didn't want this and I didn't want this. But if they're going to bring it to this point and they're going to ask to go into this arena, well, they're the one who asked for it. And I'm sorry that they had to make these decisions.
Well, it's on them. They've made the choice. They've done the act, and now they're trying to use this judicial system in this county, Stevens County, to try to cover up and make up that I was some kind of threat to them somewhere down the line. And the truth of the matter is, in legal terms, if the judge looks at this properly, Mr. Josh Millard doesn't have standing because his father wasn't married to his mother when he was born, and he doesn't have the Millard name on his birth certificate. Even if the mother did, there still is a requirement that they have to be married. And if he's not married to his mother, then Josh is an illegitimate child, and he has no standing. He can't claim that he's a victim of this or that or the other thing. And Corey trying to claim that she's a victim too is ludicrous, because she wasn't married to Josh when he was 5 years old, when this is supposed to have occurred. And they're trying to make out to the judge in this matter that somehow I'm either out of prison or I have some kind of contact that can pose a threat to them in some way. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they are. We don't care who they are or where they are, because they are like two dead flies.
Yeah.
That's all I've got to say about that. Anyway, it just doesn't make any sense other than they're cyber criminals, and they haven't had any responsible adult upbringing, and they won't, because nobody cares about them. They're glad that they're out of the household, and that's why they're doing what they're doing, was because they were doing this when they were kids and nobody gave them any supervision. And that goes back to the old days of spare the rod and spoil the child.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know, Mr. Hoffman, when you refer to Josh as an illegitimate child, you're not trying to insult him by saying that. You're just saying that as a fact that his parents weren't married. Is that accurate?
That's accurate, and it's a legal standing in this state.
Right.
When you have legal standings, he couldn't receive any inheritance from his father's will or anything like that because he is an illegitimate child.
You know, the devils are so appalled that you would say something like that about a man, but I got to tell you, Mr. Hoffman, my parents were not married at the time I was born, and so I'm an illegitimate child, and when people call me that, I don't take it as an insult. I just say, yeah, that's true. You know, my parents were not married, and, you know, it's not an insult, it's just a statement of fact, and you're not trying to, you weren't trying to hurl insults at Josh by making that statement, even though he's been very negative and hateful to you. But you're just stating a fact that it will come up in a legal courtroom.
Brother Rudy Davis, listen to me and listen well. You may be an illegitimate child, but you have taken a different path because you had the intellect and the understanding and the forewithal and the drive to become something better than anybody else thought you could be. You knew in your heart what you wanted to be, and it was something good, and you chose to do that good thing. Mr. Millard, on the other hand, chooses to wallow in his hate and act out scenes that he has imagined from that day, and I feel sorry for him that he has lost his parent. But I gave him an opportunity to do the right thing, to uplift his parent. And apparently he loves his hate more than he loves his father, because he has a golden opportunity to help free an innocent man, which would show that he was his father's son.
Right.
Instead of that, he chose to be the devil's son.
Yep.
So that's where the illegitimacy comes into play. He's made the path. He's made the choice.
Yeah.
Not you, not me, not anybody else. And it's on him. So he can live with the consequences.
No, I'm in agreement with you there. Yeah, and I can attest that that's absolutely true. You did not try to start this public fight with him. We tried to handle it without all this publicity. Nobody wanted this.
Seconds remaining.
Nobody wanted this. They're the ones who initiated it.
If I ever do get out, I do not have any intention to try to talk to them or care about them or not care about them. They don't have any existence in my future world.
Amen.
If they come to me and I'm able to help them and they...
You have 30 seconds remaining.
In a needed fashion where I can do a Christian good turn for them, I don't have a problem with doing that. I would do that for anyone, and you can ask anyone in any institution that I've been in. They come to me and they talk to me and they've told me things about their crime that nobody else knows about and nobody else will ever know about, because that's how I am.
We lost him. We lost Patrick.